What's the worst thing you ever did as horny teenager? Story 1. Fingered my then girlfriend in the backseat of her parents' car as we were driving home from her grandfather's funeral. Who's more fucked up, me or her? Story 2. My BF and I scrounged up enough money for an hour at the local no-tell motel. Soon after we realized I locked the keys in the car. We had no money and couldn't call anyone, so we broke a window out. Played dumb the next day when my parents saw my window. Story 3. Back in the day, if your parents were home, there was nowhere in this town where you could bang. The cops patrolled every dead-end street and every nearly empty parking lot. So I got the bright idea to pull my car alongside other cars at a dealership lot and use that as a spot to bang in plain sight. Never got caught, but if they were checking the cameras, someone saw a lot. Story 4. Used a can of dry shampoo to masturbate with. Only I used the capped end. The lid came off and got stuck in my vag. Took ages to get it out as the edges of the cap were stuck behind the opening. I bled a little. Story 5. Fucked a banana peel wrapped in duct tape. Then I flushed it down the toilet and it actually got stuck. Naturally, I was horrified that it would come back up as my dad was sitting there plunging the toilet trying to figure out why it was blocked up. Thankfully it ended up going through and I never had to explain why a duct-taped banana peel was in the plumbing. Story 6. My husband and I have been together since high school and there was a rumor he got his penis stuck in a Gatorade bottle. He had to rip it off and thought he broke his penis. His friends would straight on rag on him. I think he confided in one and they told everyone. I never actually believed it, but a couple of years into marriage and he admits it was true. Story 7. My parents like traveling even though we don't have much money. We finally went to Washington, D.C., so we wanted to spend loads of time. I got super horny and I nutted in the Lincoln Memorial bathroom. Story 8. I thought I was home alone. My parents walked in on me and a vacuum cleaner getting acquainted. My dad couldn't stop laughing. My mom was horrified. Later on, it was the most uncomfortable dinner ever. My dad just sat there snickering in between bites of meatloaf, while the only thing my mom said to me the whole time was, "Adam, eat." Soon after that, I got the talk from my father. Story 9. Found my parents' back massager with an attachment that cupped the head of my cock. Used that sometimes. Mom found out once or twice, and I'll never forget her saying, "I know it feels good, but..." Story 10. Around 16 years old, 16 years ago, before handheld screens were a thing. I got drunk alone at my parents', and printed off almost 50 pages of close-up vaginas, and plastered them all over the bathroom wall with thumbtacks. After an awesome 360 degrees wank session, I went to my room and passed out drunk before I could dispose of the evidence. My sister walked into the vagina room before I got rid of it. She still jokingly brings that up, over a decade later. As if that was embarrassing enough, soon after my father used the computer for work reasons, and had to use the printer. There was one gigantic vag left in the printer queue. Story 11. I've posted this before but deleted it. But I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, so asking my mom for birth control and or condoms was not an option, so asking to get a dildo was out of the question. So in my infinite wisdom, I improvised and would use the glass banana from this decorative bowl of glass fruit my mom kept on the dining room table. I knew how dangerous it was, but it was a risk I was willing to take. The banana luckily never broke, but it was still shameful to have to sit at the dining room table every night for dinner being reminded of my dirty little secret. Story 12. Used a banana as a dildo. It was wrapped in a condom, but I made the mistake of peeling it first, so it just turned to mush. Story 13. Masturbated into an empty fast food soda cup in my female friend's family's living room while having phone sex with my girlfriend on their phone, while my friend was in the other room trying to ignore what I was doing. Story 14. I took 2 Ziploc bags and put warm water mixed with lotion in them. Mixed them together in the bags and put them under the mattress right on the edge. Was going to town on it and it felt amazing, until one of the bags burst and got liquidy lotion all over my mattress. I had no idea the damage until years later when I moved out. That spot was moldy and super gross and I had no idea I was sleeping on that for years. Story 15. I was the official porn distributor for my middle school. This was before Pornhub and smartphones. I was a good writer, so I would take commissions to write "You and Your Crush" self-insert erotica. If that wasn't up your alley, I had a massive binder of smut printed from the early internet. I'd staple stories into booklets and loan them out to other students based on whatever ship or budding kink they were into. Helped at least one of my friends realize he was gay. I have no idea how we never got caught. Story 16. Would be fucking my then girlfriend now wife at her mom and stepdad house. I spent the night there. They let me sleep in the bed with her but told us no fooling around with each other. I was 18 or 19 at the time, she was 16. She lived with me at my mother's and father's house. Anyways, she had one of those beds that was metal, had those metal rods that needed screws at the top and bottom. Bed was loud, squeaky as fuck. Anyways, we started doing the deed. Her stepdad was at work but her mother was home sleeping. We get almost done fucking, bed fell apart. The bed was made out of aluminum and she had hardwood floors. So needless to say, when bed fell apart you heard about 20 or 30 bars falling on the floor. Her mom woke up, came in the room, I'm there on bottom at full mast while wife is on top but ass naked in the process of getting off me. Her mom laughed and said yup, we loosened up the screws and bolts. Story 17. I masturbated hands free in my math class. I wasn't actually a teenager, I was about 12. Still, I didn't get caught and I wonder how 12-year-old me had the guts to do that. And for anyone wondering how I did it, I used my thighs to add pressure to my crotch. It's a bit difficult but it works. Don't know if a guy can do it though. Story 18. Not me, but I just found out what my nephew did and I couldn't stop laughing. My cousin, female 46, was moving towns and had to stay with my sister for a few days. She went into the shared bathroom to take a shower and in the shower was a pocket pussy / fleshlight thingy. She told my sister and my sister was completely embarrassed because the only other person that uses that bathroom is my nephew, 16 years old. My sister threw it away and later confronted my nephew and their conversation went like this. Sis, I found your toy in the shower. Nephew, what did you do with it? Sis, I threw that disgusting thing away. Nephew, that was expensive. You owe me a new one. I died laughing when my cousin told me this story. Can you imagine telling your mom she owes you a new pocket pussy? Story 19. I was about 17. And I was seeing this guy and we wanted to have sex. We both lived with our parents, so he got a motel room that he paid for using all of his money from a recent cash job he just did. It was the cheapest one we could find and was connected to a truck stop. We had a sex marathon that night. I felt like a prostitute minus the fact I didn't get paid. I cringe every time I drive past that motel. Story 20. Lost my virginity in a parking lot that we found empty and secluded. It was a Saturday night and we had parked a few spaces apart but slept in the same car. Turned out to be a church parking lot. Woke up Sunday morning to tapping on the window and had the walk of shame through a small crowd in just my shorts. Funny now, not so much then. Story 21. Probably taking my hairbrush and shoving it up my vagina in my family's communal bathroom on a fairly regular basis. To say the least, I could have literally opened a door and looked into my parents' room. Most of my time was spent muffling myself. That, and using shaving cream and shampoo as lube, separate occasions, multiple times because I liked the slight burn it gave me. Story 22. Fingered my GF while we were in a room with our friends. We had it covered up and nobody noticed, but I was so nervous the entire time. Story 23. During high school, make out and fool around with my ex in the back of his parents' car while they would drive us home. I would wear low-cut shirts or deliberately avoid wearing an undershirt to allow easier access to my breasts. Even made him come while we were coming back from Florida and had to hurry inside a visitor center to wipe off my shirt and wash my hands. We also fooled around in my bed at my house with the door open and my stepsister in the room. We would stop or put a blanket over us if we heard footsteps. Also had, not so great, sex in our room at Disney World and in his car in a parking lot across from my church. Story 24. I walked 16 miles to a girl's house to spend the weekend smashing without any parents around. She made moose steaks, had some pot, and knew volumes more about sex than I had ever known. It still stands as a top 3 life moments after 40 years.